All right, let's turn now to some Illinois politics. Lawmakers are expected to have the new state budget finalized by May 31st. That's just 13 days away. But just a few days ago, state analysts lowered revenue projections for the upcoming fiscal year. Basically, they think Illinois is not going to be bringing in quite as much money as they hoped for. So what does this mean for the budget? For that, we turn to Ben Szalinski, State House reporter for the nonprofit newsroom Capital News Illinois, who has been following the budget all session long. Ben, thank you for being here with us. Why did these offices lower these projections? What they see coming on the horizon?
Yeah, this was kind of more of a routine adjustment, I would say. Nothing substantial was reduced here, but there's, I think, a lot more uncertainty over the direction of the economy, specifically whether it's actually going to grow. So obviously, since Governor Pritzker introduced his budget in mid-February, we have a new war in the Middle East that has complicated the economy by raising gas prices. So, budget analysts here in Illinois are basically kind of wondering what direction sales tax is going to go if consumers end up starting to cut back. And some global economic forecasts are basically showing that growth is just not going to be as robust as we once thought it was going to be earlier in 2026. So that was kind of the reason for scaling back, as we've seen unemployment also start to rise here in Illinois.
Like we said, though, we are 13 days away from when the budget is expected. So we know it's routine. We know it's not a super huge drop in revenue projections, but how does news like this impact conversations that lawmakers are already having, if it does at all?
Yeah, it just really underscores how tight this budget is. The governor's office basically said that this really shows there is little room for new spending in this budget. We've seen a lot of Democrats who do want more spending. They want to increase spending on social services. They've called for also big tax increases, which obviously, if there was political appetite for that, that could happen. But it certainly seems like the direction lawmakers are going to go is a pretty baseline budget with very, very limited spending growth of probably only 0.5% based on the current budget. So really, this projection just kind of fine tunes the final negotiations here for lawmakers and just shows us that it's going to be a really challenging budget year if everyone wants to have their priorities met.
Well, that's not the only thing that lawmakers are worried about before May 31st. We see Senate Democrats trying to get a package of AI bills. They've got 8 bills that they want to get passed before May 31st. These are really meant to regulate some of the uses of AI. So what kind of regulations are we talking about?
Yeah, this is all over the board. It comes on, trying to minimize the risk of harm from AI products, more transparency from these AI companies. They also want more transparency from websites that are using chatbots to basically disclose that, hey, you're not speaking to a real human being when you're interacting with this chatbot. There's going to be prohibitions on bots buying up event tickets, which we know can raise prices, make tickets less available for concerts, sporting events, bans on using AI for facial recognition in schools, bans on AI to grade students in schools. So it's really a whole list of things across the board that lawmakers are targeting.
Yeah, that piece about banning it to be used to grade in schools really caught my eye. We see so much talk about AI in schools, but we mostly hear about it from the students' point of view of students using it. So it was interesting to see that. But I am curious, why are Senate Democrats so motivated to get these bills over the finish line? Why not push this off till next session?
Yeah, it's really just the proliferation of AI. Part of everyone's daily routine. It's growing and evolving faster than I think anybody really has seen technology evolve before. And so they really feel like the state of Illinois just has to do something. It has to get ahead of this, regulate it in some way, because there has been calls for federal regulation, but Congress just is very slow to act. And in some ways, the Trump administration has kind of backed off AI regulation. So this kind of Illinois lawmakers' way of, trying to create some sort of baseline regulations here for the state on various different topics.
Well, Ben, before we let you go, I want to talk about prescription drugs. And for you guys at home, it's kind of complicated, but stick with us. There's this proposal that lawmakers are considering that would expand access to the already existing federal 340B program. And what you need to know is that this program discounts the price of prescription drugs for clinics and hospitals across the state. But it has become very polarizing. What's the latest on this argument?
Yeah, it's obviously an incredibly complicated program, but essentially what supporters are trying to say is this is necessary because more hospitals now qualify to be part of this program, and this would ultimately help more people get access to discounted prescription drugs. But one of the things we learned this week from a state analysis is this could be a kind of a costly program in a year, as we talked about, where there's very limited new money to spend in the budget. It would cost the state about $12 million to expand this program here in Illinois. It would cost Illinois businesses about $90 million in order to basically apply this across their insurance plan. So, there's a lot of bipartisan support for expanding this, but I think a lot of folks are also very cautious about the cost of this program as well.
Well, obviously, this proposal and this program covers everyone throughout Illinois. But one reason we were particularly interested in it is because State Representative Travis Weaver from our viewing area, he covers a lot of Henry County, the Cambridge area. He got this memo that kind of became like a big argument over the last few days. What does this memo say?
Yeah, it discussed those cost projections that I was mentioning. And, there's a lot of lobbying going on both for and against this legislation. So this is really kind of a lot of the inside baseball of Springfield. But, this memo that explained the costs, it really does, I think, heighten maybe the seriousness of these lobbying efforts, both for and against it. It's really honestly shaping it up to be one of these big conversations here at the end of session.
And we'll certainly watch very closely to see what happens to this, the AI bills, the budget. They have a lot to go through before May 31st. And Ben, you and your team will follow all of it. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Shelby.
If you guys at home want to take a deeper dive into any of Ben or his other team's Capital News Illinois coverage, head over to WQAD.com and the As Seen on TV tab at the top of the homepage.